Hello everyone, my name is Ishan and welcome to the Race Monkey. What we have in the Race Monkey garage is something very interesting. As you can see, this is the MG Gloster, a car I have been very critical about in the past, but I've come over here in Kasoli with my family, completely filling the car with maximum amount of luggage in the boot. And we've been driving this car for the last 400 kilometers, and there are so many things that have changed in terms of my outlook towards this particular one. Now, in Saudi Arabia, this car is sold under the name of Maxus D90, which is then built by MG for India. It gets a 2-liter twin turbocharged diesel engine which produces 218 bhp and 480 newton meters of max torque, apparently, which is pretty powerful for its segment. Now, this competes against the likes of the Toyota Fortuner, which perhaps is the most popular SUV in the country right now. But this is no less. It gets a body on frame structure, it gets very well appointed interiors, and that 2-liter diesel engine is ultra smooth and pretty refined as well. So we're going to talk to you about how the experience has been driving this car over 1000 kilometers through this road trip within the city that we'll be doing over this 1 week. And we'll let you know if you should really consider buying this over the Toyota Fortuner, because honestly, that's the only competition it had. This one was the key competitor to the Ford Endeavour in terms of its packaging. It's very modern, it has all the amenities and a few bells and whistles that really make your life easy when you're doing long distance road trips with your family. So without further ado, let's get behind the wheel and talk to you more about it. Now, here on the inside of the MG Gloster, everything that you look and feel is high quality. Now, to start off with, you've got this massive steering wheel with quite a large diameter with a flat bottom over here, which is good to hold, good to grip, and has a very good quality leather on top of it. You get proper chunky physical buttons for your audio control and your cruise control as well. Paddle shifters at the back, which do extend up till the bottom. You get a digital instrument cluster with your speedometer and tachometer as analog dials, which might change in the newer generation, which is coming at the end of 2024. 12.25-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which perhaps is wired in this version of the Gloster. MGA is going to upgrade their hardware and software for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as we go further, but it looks and it feels very seamless to use. Good amount of storage over here and over here as well. You get 2 cup holders and a plethora of buttons for your driver control. Now, to start off with, you get seat cooling, heating and massage for the driver exclusively, so that when you're doing your long distance journeys, carrying your family with you, you are relaxed and you don't really feel the fatigue while carrying this almost 2.5 ton SUV everywhere. You get all your driver controls over here with diff lock, your lane keeping assist and your park assist on physical buttons. You don't have to toggle through the menus on the touchscreen. You have everything over here and you can switch it on or off as per your convenience. You have your off-road modes over here with the auto button, which basically detects the kind of terrain that you're driving on and sets your off-road settings accordingly. Large chunky gear lever over here, which looks something that has been taken out from Audi cars, which is not a bad thing because it's very ergonomic to use and feels very chunky to hold as well. Massive sunroof over here, which we will talk about further on this video, and good amount of storage space in the glove box as well. What I'm a huge fan of in this car are these seats, especially in the front, where you have good amount of under thigh support and these beautifully quilted leatherette seats with very soft cushioning. They make your long distance journeys very, very comfortable, and it's not going to be a bad experience for anyone in this car. But what is great about the Gloster is what happens at the back. So let's go there. Welcome to the real business end of the Gloster, the second row seat, and especially this six-seater version, which gets these massive captain chairs. Now, I'm 5 feet 8 inches tall, and this seat is positioned as per a driver who is about 6 feet tall. And I have oodles of leg room, good amount of headroom as well. And to make space for luggage and people at the back, I can slide this seat all the way in the front, and I can slide it all the way to the back to make more room for the passengers in the second row. And honestly speaking, if I adjust it as per my driving position, I'll have too much space available for myself. Now, to be honest, this is one of the most comfortable space to be in this side of 50 lakh rupees. These captain chairs are absolutely fantastic. I've sat in the BMW X7, and this is far better in terms of the comfort situation than that car. The under thigh support is wonderful. The cushioning of these seats are incredibly good. You get these winged headrests over here, which represent first class and business class flights. And you can be very, very relaxed while you're doing long distance trips. You've got massive windows and this huge sunroof that filter in light into the cabin, because these coffee colored interiors can look a little dark and dingy. And especially if you're opting for the black edition of the Gloster, it gets even worse. But there is massive amounts of these windows which filter in quite a lot of natural light on the inside. Seat pockets over here for both the passengers, and you get these adjustable armrests for both the passengers at the back with cubby holes on the sides and two bottle holders to keep your massive 1.25-liter bottles as well. Now, this has a tri-zone climate control system, which gets individual fan and temperature control for the rear passenger as well. You get USB Type A outlets over here and air conditioning vents on top, which do throw out quite a lot of cold air to the passengers at the back. I would have loved to have a retractable curtain on the side when it gets really sunny, but I'm just being nitpicky. Overall, this space is fantastic, and the amount of comfort that you get while doing long distance journeys, even when you're doing 1000 kilometers in a day, is just top notch. This is one of the most comfortable spaces to be in this side of 50 lakh rupees, and you just cannot deny it after experiencing it. But what's even better, especially when you're in a family situation going on long distance trips, is the third row seat. So, without further ado, let's get back there. Now, it's not a very difficult thing to climb into the Gloster because of how great the ingress and egress is for the third row. But once you get here, you're greeted by so much of space at the back. The Innova Krista and the High Cross were the epitome of rear seat space, especially in the third row up till now, but the Gloster outdoes them all. Now, this seat is adjusted midway to really tell you the real life situation that you would go through while you're doing long distance trips with your family. And my 5 feet 8 inch structure in this third row is very, very comfortable. I've got good amount of knee room, great amount of headroom as well. I'm barely touching the roof, and the amount of light that's filtering into this last row is absolutely fantastic. You get AC vents over here, which are controlled for temperature from the second row. The seats are very comfortable. I don't sit very much knees up. If you're 6 feet plus, yes, this is not the space for you. But if you're about 5.5, 5'6", even 5'8", you would be comfortable enough doing 500, 600 kilometers in a day. The seat back recline angle is also very comfortable, and the cushioning is just top notch. You get reading lights over here. You get bottle holders on both the sides. 12-volt socket over here to put in your accessories, and it does accommodate 120-watt chargers. A USB port over there, and speakers over here as well, which can keep you very much entertained. There is just so much comfort over here in this third row, and it's a top to your experience while you're doing your trips with your family. So it's a win-win situation here in the third row of the Gloucester. Out on the twisties, the Gloucester does feel very hefty. Now, this isn't a car that would inspire confidence within you while you're taking corners hard, and especially if you have passengers on board. The weight just increases, and there is quite a lot of body roll that you would have to expect out of this car. This is a body on frame vehicle. It has proper heavy 4x4 system artillery under its skin, and this would not inspire too much confidence while you're doing an uphill journey or a downhill journey on the express highways of the mountains either. Now, this is a front heavy car as well. There is lesser amount of weight on the rear axle, which means while you're doing uphill trips, you would feel slightly confident while doing that, but while you're doing downhill, it does become somewhat a cumbersome experience. There is quite a significant amount of understeer, which I honestly don't like. But there is enough grunt in this car to pull about 6 people up the hill. The suspension is stiff enough to take away all the bad undulations on the road, and now we're going through a very rough terrain, and it just goes over it very comfortably. This is a very comfortable car. The seats are very cushy. The steering feedback, especially on these rough terrains and twisty terrains, is very good. You have a lot of communication happening from the front wheels to the steering wheel, and you can feel whatever is happening under the car. All these undulations, all these little portholes do get filtered into the steering feedback, which is not a bad thing at all, because you know what your front wheels are doing and what sort of input do you need to put into the car to really make it drive well. Now, even the sound insulation inside the cabin is pretty good. We have tested the Fortuner against it a couple of days ago, and that car did feel quite loud on the inside. That 2.8 liter diesel engine is pretty refined, but it isn't as refined as this engine, which has been taken off from General Motors. This is a 2 liter twin turbocharged diesel engine, and the sound insulation done from the firewall between the engine bay and the cabin is pretty damn good. So the MG Gloster out on the highway feels very relaxing and very comfortable to drive. It is oriented and set up more towards comfort than outright performance and sharp handling, which essentially and fundamentally should not be the case with ladder on frame SUVs or cars in general. Now, this has been the case with the 2022 avatar of the Gloster that we are currently driving, and the current generation as well. They both are properly comfortable, properly soft when it comes to their spring rates. And that's not a bad thing, because when you're carrying 6 passengers on board, and even if you're driving alone, it is very, very good in taking all those bumps. Although it gets a little bouncy if the road is a little wavy in its design, but nothing that bothers you over the longer journeys. I've driven this car for about 1500 kilometers in the last 1 week. I've done road trips, city drives, and it just doesn't feel that it has to do a lot when it comes to outright comfort orientation. Now, the competition, which is the Toyota Fortuner, of course, is more reliable, of course, handles better, because it's set up more towards performance, it is set up more towards off-roadability, and there's no question about it. The Toyota Fortuner, of course, is the more off-road friendly SUV in this segment. The Gloster is not. I would position Gloster as something which is very similar to a Toyota Innova, but with the capability of 4x4 system. It's a comfortable family SUV that you would want to take out on long road trips without having any hiccups. Now, as I mentioned earlier in this video, that this car has done upwards of 51,000 kilometers, and there are no squeaks, no crackles, no rattles coming in from the plastics. Everything is functioning as intended from the factory. None of the buttons are in a shape where they're not working. There is no malfunction in any of the electronics. There are no lights on the instrument cluster as well, which are telling me that there is some malfunction in the car. Of course, the MG Gloster is going to be a more expensive affair when it comes to overall maintenance. But if you are ready to spend 50 lakh rupees on this SUV for your family and you are capable to service it well, I think it's a very rewarding car. The seats are extremely comfortable. The AC is pretty chilling. We are running 49 degrees Celsius outside right now. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of May. There is an orange alert that has been announced by the government in the NCT of Delhi and in NCR. And we are going to see some very hot days up ahead. But I'm inside the MG Gloster and I'm least bothered. The only gripe is that this curtain over here, which is a blind for the sunroof, does penetrate quite a lot of sunlight on the inside, which can hamper the effective cooling of the AC if you park your car outside in the sun. So be prepared to get a parking lot for yourself with a shed. But if you buy a car worth 50 lakh rupees, perhaps I'm judging that you will be able to buy that as well for yourself. Anyway, there are more things about the Gloster than what meets the eye. Everyone has been ranting about it being a Chinese car. Let me tell you, it is now co-owned by an Indian firm, the Jindals. And they have really managed to pull the quality game to the max when it comes to packaging. MG in the last 3-4 years have been manufacturing some very high quality cars, and the Gloster is no different. When you get inside this car, the sense of occasion and the quality of everything is pretty good. There are some rough edges here and there, but nothing that gets into your eyesight or you keep on feeling every day. Everything that you touch and feel on a regular basis, your first touch points, are very high quality. And also the amount of visibility that you get, especially when you're driving on the highway, and the commanding position of the seat. This is unlike anything. Yes, I know there are a lot of Toyota fanboys saying, hey man, the Toyota Fortuner is far better than this Chinese SAIC manufactured SUV. You have to drive it to believe it. Of course, it's not going to be as off-road friendly as your Fortuner, as you might be protecting. But there is nothing like this in the market under 50 lakh rupees that is worth doing long distance trips in. Not even the Innova Krista is as comfortable as this one, mind you. So what's my final verdict on the MG Gloster? I've been living with this car for the last 10 days and I've driven over 1500 kilometers. And honestly speaking, I feel this is the most underrated family SUV in the market today. I know, this is competing against the legendary Toyota Fortuner, which cannot be matched when it comes to outright reliability and longevity, as we know. But if you have the money and you can bear the expenses of running this car over the period of time, there's nothing more rewarding, more comfortable and more well packaged than the MG Gloster at 50 odd lakh rupees. This is competing against the Fortuner and the Jeep Meridian as well. And against both of them, this has more space, more equipment, and the ride quality is absolutely wonderful. And as we saw in this video, and you saw on our social media as well, this is also very, very efficient. In our hypermiling test, this was able to do 25 kmpl. This weighs 2.5 tons. It's very heavy. But with that twin turbo diesel engine, it was a no-brainer. It is super smooth, very refined. The engine and gearbox combination is wonderful. The suspension setup is tuned beautifully for Indian roads. Although if you're driving over wavy roads like what you have in Mumbai or places around, you might feel a little cumbersome because it does bounces out a little bit at the back. But as a package and as a car that really makes you feel good when you're traveling out with your family towards the mountains, towards the desert, or anywhere in the country, the MG Gloster makes for a great case for itself. And with that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. Please do share this video with everyone who is considering to buy a Gloster, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also follow us on our Instagram handle @TheRaceMonkey. Please wear your seatbelts and your helmets always.